Start the recording. Dove, you wake up around the usual time that you do. And for better or for worse, with excitement or anticipation, you have been very aware of the people around you and your home. You may not have been born in Sharn, but it is the only home you've ever known. And as you wake up, it weighs heavy on you that for the first time in your life, you will be leaving it. What do you do?
Is it, um, am I waking up in the morning of this day?
Yes, I will say that you have full control over when you wake up. If you think that you wanted to wake up earlier, if you slept in, however you want to spend this last day. I will also tell you, the same as the other two, you choose when you go. So, whenever you think would be the best time to use the spell scroll is when you use it.
Okay, so I don't think that Dove sleeps in because Dove always wakes up early, and I think today is no exception,
Mm-hmm.
because especially today of all days, they are going to be very busy.
Oh yeah, running around, as it were.
But I think Dove wakes up early with enough time to enjoy the morning, and he starts getting ready in his room at Velvet's, putting time into their appearance, brushing out their hair before they put it back in that kind of low ponytail, um, kind of washing their face with some water, putting on their casual clothes for the day with that kind of coat with it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and I think um, they either drink tea that they have left over or they make a new pot of it so they
Mm-hmm.
can have it with their breakfast.
Yeah, definitely. I imagine that you probably brew a new pot. Uh, Teas tend to go really bitter the longer you let them sit. So I imagine as you're kind of getting ready for your day, you brew a pot. Uh, I might have asked this before, but I feel like asking it again. So what kind of teas does Dove like?
Hmm.
Something strong, something caffeinated, something light to wake you up. What do you like?
I think Dub's preferred teas are
Mhm.
kind of floral or medicinal in the profile of them.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Definitely.
yeah, so it's more like it has more of like an aroma and like more of that kind of like subtle but like still nice flavor profile, I think.
Mhm, mhm, definitely.
The caffeine isn't once really important to Dove. It's kind of just like the making of the tea, and Dove does kind of just make it with like whatever's on hand, like some herbs they have or like some flowers they got from the market.
Yeah, that's so cute. I think that's cute. I also think even the activity of putting it together is something that's like fun in the morning.
Oh yeah, like you could even do those like the herbal like or like the medicinal balls that you can like put into the hot water and like let it kind of like a hot cocoa bomb.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You're an alchemist. You could literally just make those. That's just a thing you do. I love that. Yeah. Um, you do that and you get ready and you kind of center yourself. Um, Morning at Velvet's is always a little harried, a little, I don't want to say chaotic, but a little hectic. A lot of people are getting ready for the day. And you guys do have like a communal kitchen in the living quarters here. Um, so as you're kind of doing this, as you do every morning, you're seeing the same routines of everybody who lives here. People ducking in to get something really quick to eat, or like people fetching water or fetching drinks in preparation for certain types of scenes. People will come in like half like like obviously you like see people like half done up, essentially, finger quotes, where like you're seeing people who are using masks or personas that you either know or don't know. Um, and it's very familiar, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's interesting to see how everything is still moving the same even when this day is so big for you. You know? The world
Yeah,
turns.
it does. And I think Dove I think Dove treats this morning the same as he would any other morning.
Mhm.
Um, where if he knows that someone has to get up for a shift at the end, or they have a scene that they were supposed to do and they're not up yet and kind of just sleeping in, then he takes it upon himself to kind of lightly knock on their doors and go in to wake them up. Um, or if anyone needs help with like preparing any reserved rooms for scenes, then Dove would help with that as well. Kind of just doing the same routine that they've always done and kind of no hurry.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I can definitely see that. I feel like everybody at Velvet's appreciates you and the thankless work that is being everybody's alarm clock sometimes.
Dove is a morning person. Dove wakes up in the morning and is that myth of a person that is
Mhm.
immediately cheery and happy to be there, and you don't know where they got the energy from.
Yeah, like that's the thing, and it's like people are used to the Dove like wake up calls. People are used to like sometimes being woken up by you specifically for like the morning like shift, as it were. And so like there's usually a good number of people that do kind of sleep in because of that, because you have that safety net and you go and you get them up and you get sort of the same reactions of like sometimes people are a little like annoyed, or like you can tell when people stayed up too late, but people always like stop to give you like a clap on the shoulder or like a side hug before they have to like pile out of their rooms.
Yeah, and I think Dove brings um, a cup of warm tea for anyone that especially doesn't want to get up, much like a
Mhm.
slumbering bear, kind of an offering of peace, where they kind of go over to the bedside and gently hand it out to them just so they have something slightly like warm and that will help bring them energy for the day in their hands to help them wake
Yeah,
up.
that's so cute. Oh, that's so cute. Yeah, you do that. And it's nice because this is your home and this is your family and the people that you love. And I don't know if there's a better morning you could spend than with them like that, you know?
Yeah, I don't think Dove would want this to be any other way. I don't think Dove wants to wake up and have it be a day where everyone is doing this grand send off that's so different from what they usually have known. I think they're the type of person that just appreciates having the same day as always before they go because that's what they'll miss the most is just their routine
Mhm.
and the day to day life that they had. So I think this is just especially nice and calming, even with what's on the horizon.
Yeah. And as you do all of this, the sun does peek over the horizon as it climbs a bit higher until it gets, I want to say, closer to not quite noon, but getting more later in the morning as
Mhm.
your general morning at Velvet's is done and you don't have any scenes today, so your day really opens up. What do you want to do first?
Um, I think Dove will, as always, leave the pot of tea in the kitchen, and gather up kind of just what simple belongings. They kind of need to go out on a little walk across the districts to get to High Walls,
Hmm.
and kind of just let a few people that are just around know where they're going and head out and start going towards High Walls for the first thing in the morning.
Nice, you do that. It takes you a bit. Sharn is a big city, but you've made this walk countless times before. Um, I want to ask you a fun question. Do you think you told like people that you work with in High Walls that you were going to be leaving? People like Vaughn and stuff like that. The children, I feel like, has a bit more, but
Um,
like adults
yeah,
that you work with.
I actually think so. Like I don't think Dove left the day after they got the letter or anything, and they
Hmm.
usually go to High Walls every day if they, because they try to set aside time to do so.
Yeah.
So I definitely think when they went on the first trip after receiving the letter, they like immediately let Vaughn and also the children and anyone that was kind of in that little community that Dove helps,
Hmm.
let them know what his decision was.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I can definitely see that. I especially uh, with how I know that Dove feels. I don't know if I want to say like responsible is the right word, but basically I know that Dove takes it upon themselves to do a lot. So I definitely can imagine that he would have gone out of his way to make sure that like they knew and things were set up. Okay, so that's
Yeah,
good to
Dove
know.
didn't want them to have any surprises with this and would also have let them know, like they're still going to do their best to get them set up before they leave.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay, so that helps with this next bit. So you make your way to High Walls, and it looks the same as it always does. It's crowded. There are a great number of people there that have little left, that want for much, for lack of a better way to phrase it. But you have come to see in this community the strength of community. And while most people would come here and see just the negatives and think that people were living terribly, you see people by their names, by the lives that they live, by how they help the people around them. And you see very clearly how they cling to each other as you have helped stoke a small but welcome fire of hope in them. And as you enter, doing the same walk you've always done, practically every day, you see a familiar face. Well, you see his hair first, sticking out in a sea of uh, black and white hair colors. You see Vaughn with his hair pulled back, sleeves rolled up, and when he sees you, you can see his tired expression sort of lighten up with a smile as his eyes sort of crinkle with crow's feet, and he greets you with a wave and says, "I guess today's the day, huh?"
It it is today, yes. Uh, Dove says as they kind of try to maneuver through the crowd just to get a bit closer to speak with them.
Hmm.
But they have a smile on their face as well.
Uh, you see Vaughn kind of scratch at his nose a bit and say, "Well, burning daylight, I guess. A lot to get done.
So you're needing blankets, coats?
Yes, even just like fabrics that can be made into insulation and things like that. Clothing, that works too, but it doesn't have to be of particular make. I can definitely scrounge together some people to sew something together, so.
Is there a number that you had in mind?
Uh, no, I guess whatever our generous benefactor decides to give us. I would I would hate to. See, this is the thing though, is that I always have to have this struggle of imposing and asking for too much. So when you ask me for these numbers, it makes it very hard for me, you see.
Well, Vaughn, my friend, uh, the funny thing about help is that I came into High Walls of my own accord, uh, and I nosed my way into your business. So this is my burden to bear. Please, don't feel bad about any numbers or things like that. I simply wish to see you all set up before I go.
He nods and he says, "Okay, thank you. I don't feel like I say it enough, or that I can make it mean as much as it does." And so this is a fun little thing that I wanted to say. I was going to bring this up whenever you went shopping, but I will actually also talk about it now. Any of the stuff you put aside uh, for specifically high walls, I'm actually not going to charge you from your starting gold
Oh wow, okay.
because it's not going to count as your inventory.
Mm-hmm.
So I will probably just say that anything. I think it's very easy to just say that like you could have easily used like your own money or your own savings for this. You know?
Mm-hmm. Uh, do I know like approximately how big? Like, because I know High Walls is pretty crowded as a thing,
Yeah.
but I don't think that like Dove has the reach at the moment to help everyone in High Walls, like literally
Yeah.
everyone they can as like a single person.
Yeah.
Um, so I think like with the help of Vaughn, they've like helped focus it to like probably like a still sizable group of people, but definitely not everyone.
Yeah.
But would I happen to have like an estimated like average of the amount of people that could be potentially, or like who
Yeah.
would need blankets?
So I haven't come up with that number, but I'm gonna eyeball it about right now because you would definitely know that as Dove. That's the thing, is that that's why I really wanted to make an NPC that you worked with specifically, because like I think that if you directly can't help somebody, then Vaughn can, and as like, alchemists and healers, you have a lot of reach, but I think the kind of people that you and Vaughn focus on are the people that have it the worst, like the orphans, like the displaced people that don't have homes yet. you know,
Mm-hmm.
the people who are at the highest chance of being sick or needing food. Not every refugee and not every displaced Chiron here um, is destitute, but that doesn't mean that there aren't people that are, you know. So I want to say that you probably help a pool between, I want to say maybe average like 30 or 40 people, but that includes adults and children. And that's probably a really small scope compared to the whole of the ward, because I think Sharn wards are pretty big. But those are the people that you work with like consistently. Um, and I'm probably going to say that of those people that like need it, you could probably get like maybe like 2 or 3 extra blankets per household, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay.
I think that's definitely within reach, and I'm completely willing to like hand wave that again, because you can like easily just say that you get like anything that you can for them.
Yeah, yeah, and then while Dove is still here, are we just kind of conversing in the middle of the street? How we kind of like gone off to the side? Are we like walking to a place?
I imagine that whenever Vaughn greeted you, he waited for you to come over to him, and he was probably like off to the side, like not in an alleyway, but like off to the side of like one of the main squares and stuff. Um, and I assume that you guys were kind of just talking and standing. But like
Mhm.
if you want to go a particular place or do something in particular, then he would walk and talk with you. But for this conversation, you probably were stationary.
Oh no, I just wanted to get an idea.
Yeah.
So while Dove is still here, and kind of gets that information, I think Dove will also speak up and say, while I'm here, before I leave for the shopping, um, is there any medicine that I need to fetch as well? Any sick leave? Any students that need teaching before I go?
Uh, I think that Vaughn definitely, as because it is very much alchemist recognize alchemist. When it talks to medicine, I definitely think that Vaughn like parrots off an entire list of ingredients that he personally thinks that he needs to stock up on. Um, and it's a lot of the raw materials for things that can fix like coughs, things that can help with sickness, that can help with like this, that, and the other. But it's a lot of the like raw ingredients because he's crafting them individually. Um,
Mm.
he would tell you that thankfully there's no injured or sick. Thankfully, people have not been getting into trouble lately, which is really nice. Um, helps ease some of his worries. Um, And as far as for students who need teaching, I think that he would kind of affectionately say, I don't think anybody would argue against seeing you again before you go, but and he kind of smiles at you and says, it would be incorrect to say that you've taught them all you can, but this is a big day for you, too. You don't have to spend it all day working.
The thing about today, of all days for me, is that I suppose that I would not like it to feel different. if my last day could be as I have always spent it, then I think that would be enough.
I'm gonna. Why am I tearing up? This ain't my character. I'm emo. I think Vaughn's expression kind of softens at that. And you see his eyes kind of go a little misty and he nods and he says, I think that's the thing that people always miss the most. The little things that make home feel like home. So I can understand that. And he kind of gives a bit of a cough and he kind of turns to put a hand like on your back and kind of like gently usher you along and say, well then, why don't we make our rounds?
I would like to see the little sprouts before I go.
Little scamps, more like.
They're lovely, Vaughn. I don't know what you mean.
Well, you only see them a couple hours a day, and I'm the one who has to make sure they stay out of trouble the rest of the 20 hours. And you walk together and you go, and it's very easy for you to kind of round up the kids that you generally teach, since you come every day and people generally know you, especially if they're in the sphere that you help. It's very easy for like parents or adults to see you here and be like, oh, okay, we should also go and get the kids so that they don't like waste your time. And you gather everyone together. You have a really small class. I want to say a little less than 10, but
Yeah, I was definitely expecting that.
yeah, like small. Um, but you see all of the familiar faces, and the ages really vary. The youngest would be Adelston and Adelgisa, but the oldest could be closer to a little bit younger than Rue, you know? Um, and you pull them together and you have one last lesson. And this is when I would like to ask you, what would you make that about? Do you say anything? Do you impart any words of wisdom before you go? Is it another lesson on a piece of magic you've talked about before? Is it a song?
I know exactly what it's going to be,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a recap session where Dove goes around and asks each child to share what their favorite thing that they've learned with Dove so far is.
Oh my god, that's really soft.
Today is just a recap of everything they've learned, having people share what they like, and going over any questions about generally what has been covered so far.
Oh, that's really sweet. I I definitely think that that goes over really well because it's such a broad question and you as a teacher have many skills, many talents. Uh so you hear really excited answers about how this person really liked this lesson because it was something that they could do really well, or um, someone uh, talks about really liking like now this is technically assuming because I don't know everything that you teach these children, but I imagine it can go from like magic, it can go from bardic things, it can go from history, it can go to worldly studies and this sort of thing. But one student of yours says that they really like this vocal lesson you did because it helped them better sing like a folk song that they learned. And like it's kind of parroting off with various levels of excitement and enthusiasm, and you get to be centered in this happy space full of these children that you've come to really care for and see them be really happy. And I just think that's really soft.
It is really soft. Yeah, I definitely think that Dove teaches widely varied things just
Mhm.
to try to give these kids like
Anything they
as
can.
yeah, as far reaching of like knowledge as they can. Like so yeah, like being a bard, like vocal lessons, like history of music,
Mhm.
um like instruments, anything like that. And then of course like magic because every like I don't think it's a stretch to try and say like Dev would try to teach every kid in this group magic because magic is already such a wide-reaching thing in the day-to-day
Mhm.
life of Eberron. It's really easy to pick up like cantrips or first level spells or whatever, not maybe not this young, but you know what I mean.
I would argue that
Um,
that would lend more to the idea of you teaching magic, though, because it would be very easy for you to be like, okay, so this kid knows a cantrip, I can teach him another one. Or like, these kids have this, like, they show promise because of XYZ. I can try to nurture that so when they get older, they can be able to become better spellcasters. I definitely think that that's a very, like, realistic thing to have happen, especially since that's also how you learned magic.
Yeah, and it's really useful to have prestidigitation for this because
Mm-hmm.
the cantrip is a minor magical trick that novice spellcasters use for practice.
Yeah.
So occasionally Dub would be like, if you've learned this cantrip, let's try telling time with it today. Let's like use this for this today, so on and so forth. And then other
Mm-hmm.
lessons would be about like history, of like Corvair, of like the nations, of Kyre, um, things like that. I don't, I do want to say that Deb would still try to help in like teaching the kids about Kyre and Kyre culture, but
Yeah.
I do think that being in this kind of community already, it's mostly handled. But I don't think Dove wants to entirely skip that either, being so important to them.
I can definitely see that. Yeah, I was actually thinking this because something that I read specifically about the Kyran community in Sharn, there is a really big active want and encouragement to keep the culture that they have and that they know. So I think it would be less you teaching them about Kyran culture, but a lot of your lessons, especially augmented with people like Vaughn, help them keep a hold of certain things and help them
Yeah.
keep like Chiron values that are really important to these people that are displaced. So I definitely like get what
Mhm.
you're saying, but I think that you still help in that sphere, you know?
Yeah, and it would just be a lot of other wide-reaching things like that.
Mhm.
And I imagine even some like more wisdom-based teachings, living in a city as they do, like how to be careful, like when you're in like a crowded space or like busy streets,
Yeah.
and probably either like even some like light introductory teachings about herbs and medicines, like this is
Yeah.
like how you tell this is a safe herb, this is how you tell this is a poisonous herb, like if you can, making these kind of teas will like really help someone who feels a bit sick and things like that. Like this is how
Yeah.
you could help people that are sick in your family.
Yeah, exactly. And like stuff like that is really easy to teach, especially to like young children. Like obviously you're not teaching them full alchemy, but at the same time, like that's different than saying like if you
Mhm.
go, you can get this herb and this herb helps with this thing. Or if you have like a wound, you can do this to help it, stuff like that. You're a very talented man to be a teacher. You're a very talented changeling.
Thank you.
Uh, Yeah, so you spend as much time as you want doing that. I can definitely imagine that your lessons sometimes take a couple hours. Probably not too long because kids do be having wandering like attention spans, but
Oh, yeah, this is exactly why um Dove decided to do a recap session for their last
mhm.
day because there's really no point in trying to teach something new the
Mhm.
day that they're leaving
Yeah.
because they won't be able to kind of do the practice thing with it that really
Mhm.
helps get it into their minds. So it's kind of just a recap to cement all of the previous things that they've done.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's so neat. That's so smart. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think if any children were talking about how they really like a vocal lesson or like a song, I definitely feel like Dove has brought an instrument with them and is very open to just playing some songs for their students.
Oh,
And just,
yeah.
I think it's just one of those really easy, just nice days with them, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. Not every day has to be really intensive and do a lot. Sometimes you can just have a time where you spend time with your students. Yeah. That's really soft. I really like that. As this happens, you see the sun reach noon and start to go further down throughout the day. And when you do feel like you can pull away from everything that you can get ready for them, uh, Vaughn comes back up to you and holds out a hand and kind of waits expectantly.
Um, is he like offering his hand to mine?
Yeah, he's holding out his hand. I want to say it's like vertical, like handshake,
Mm. Um,
like handshake motion.
yeah. That will smile and put his hand into Vaughn's.
He goes to like hold it, uh, and he shakes your hand, but that's overshadowed by the fact that he uses it to pull you into a hug, but firm. Uh, this is probably a surprisingly fierce hug for a man that is all skin and bones. And he kind of holds you to him for a second, and he says, "Good luck out there," before he lets you go.
Vaughn, you do realize I'm just going shopping and then I'm coming right back?
I, in my defense, I didn't know if you were coming back yourself or if you were sending one of your friends to
And
bring the
in the
stuff
middle of
back.
that sentence, Dove. Oh, sorry, was that you or Vaughn?
That's Vaughn.
Oh, in the middle of that sentence, Dove just cuts Vaughn off by like starting their own hug. Like they just hug Vaughn also like as tight as they can, which is not very tight given
Mhm.
what Dove's strength score is, but like as tight as they possibly can. They just cut off the sentence in their teasing way by giving Vaughn another hug.
uh, he goes to hug you back, uh, and he kind of gives a laugh whenever he is done being squeezed, and he says, "All right, all right. I was trying to be nice. You don't have to sass me right now."
I will be back in just a little bit. I promise.
Okay, and then when I do this a second time, you have to pretend that we didn't already do this. Yeah?
Right, we can have our very touching goodbye.
Yeah, touching? What? Goodbyes? Don't know her.
Of course not.
And he shoos you off. You can see the tips of his ears are a little bit red as you leave to go shopping for your things.
Um, sorry, just one more thing, for the kiddos.
Mm-hmm.
Would Dove have noticed that the twins' hair, was it a bit snagged today?
Uh, Most times when you visit, it has a little bit. Some days are worse than others, but you think it's mostly because of the fact that not only are they orphans, but they're also little scamps. They're running around all the time. But you do see that there's a little bit at the ends. Better than before, but you know how
Okay.
it goes.
Um, I was just going to say that I think whenever Dove comes into High Walls, they are also prepared with a hairbrush at all
Oh
times.
yeah, every time.
And I think they actually also make a point today, to not only brush out the twins' hair, but brush out all of the kids' hair because they
Aww.
style it. They like put it up in like nice, neat like stylish braids, or like they
Oh,
put it
that's
into a
so
nice ponytail or
cute.
bun. They style every kid's hair, so and if it's too short, they like, do the best with what they have. But just so they
Yeah.
like have something fun to go home with.
Yeah, they can feel a little fancy. That's really sweet. I definitely think that it goes over really well, especially like whenever you're kind of like round robin, everybody talking about like things and like going over things and answering questions. I definitely think that they really liked it. I think that the twins are usually a little bit stubborn at first every time you do it, but you would be hard pressed to say that they seem like they dislike it, you know?
Yeah, and I think Dove, especially of any person, is like very gentle when brushing out
Mm hmm.
snags and
A
hair
100%.
anyway, so
Like, you have long hair, you get it, you know?
it happens.
I do.
Um, but yeah, so I think Dove then goes shopping. Um, Off the
Nice.
top of my head, I have forgotten what market is closest.
It. I believe the market you go to is in. It's Tavix Market, isn't it? The one in Tavix Landing?
Oh, yes, because that's the the one the part of the city that I'm in.
It is true. You are in Tavix Landing, so Tavix Market technically is the closest one. It also is the one that has the most things because if you remember, that's the one that like
Yeah,
has all
it's
the
the one
stuff.
that I believe that farmers go to from outside of Sharn, and it's just more of like a farmers market and local stuff like
Yeah.
that.
It also is actually really populous. I found out it's right next to the Terminus Lightning Rail station.
Yes, that is also in Tavix Landing.
Delicious. Yeah. So we can just say that you go there. I don't know any information on the shops that are there, but this is the shopping portion, so you can just tell me what you buy.
Yeah, I don't think that matters too much because I'm not too pressed about going to anywhere specific, just about acquiring items.
Yes.
So, to start with, for the blankets and coats, I feel like Dove will try to get a mix of fully made blankets,
Hmm.
coats, and fabric. Some good, heavy, warm fabric to make more blankets or coats
Hmm.
if needed be.
Okay.
Um, Trying to think of a number that would be good for each.
Feel free to tell me, and I will add them to my home notes for you.
Yeah, this might take me a little bit of thinking, so if there was anything you needed to do in this moment, go ahead.
Okay, cool. I'm going to actually pause then, and I'm going to start eating a little bit, and then tell me before you're ready to start talking in character again. Okay, so as a recap, you buy 60 blankets, so 2 for each household, 20 coats as an aggregate of the majority of working adults that you work with, and you spend the remaining of that money to help restock Vaughn's Alchemist's Kit for the coming winter, for a total of 44 gold out of your savings. That sound good?
Yes.
Okay. So after you go shopping, you go back to High Walls to drop off your goods.
I do, yes. I think it's I think Dove knew where to look for those things, and
Mm-hmm.
I think Dove was pretty single-minded about what to get in and out, so I don't think the shopping trip took too long
I don't think
just
so
from the
either.
shopping aspect.
Yeah. I also agree. I think that you were probably only out for like an hour at most. Alright, so you find your way back to High Walls, and it is about the same as you left it. You haven't been gone for too long. And you can very easily find Vaughn near the building that he calls home. And he looks at your veritable treasure trove of a haul. I imagine you probably had to carry it like in a trunk. Like, that's a lot of items.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and I'm thinking that, like,
You might have even had to have gotten it delivered like in a box. Like, you might have had to have had somebody walk it back with you as like part of your
yeah,
transaction.
yeah, because, like, I'm thinking either in a chest or, like, they, like, had to wrap it up in, like, a pretty portable bundle for, like, the blankets and coats.
Mm-hmm.
The herbs and medicines, like, those are already going to be
Yeah.
bundled, and Dove could just fit that into their pack. But,
Yeah.
like, the blankets and the coats would rack up and weight very
Yeah.
quickly,
They're
so
big. They take up a lot of space.
yeah, so I think maybe, like, some help in delivering it or, like, just
Mm-hmm.
bundling it up into, like, a trunk or something would
Yeah.
be, yeah.
Yeah. I definitely see that happening, and Vaughn definitely looks surprised, to say the least, as it's sort of set down near him, and he starts to kind of like inspect it and say, well, I don't know what I expected, but I guess I should have expected this.
Well, I couldn't very well easily leave you with less than what I normally do, now could I?
And you see him kind of bite down a smile, and he says, "No, I guess not." And he kind of goes to start like looking through like all that you got, and he kind of looks over to you after a bit, a kind of awe-struck expression, and he says, "I mean, with this, we should have everyone covered, honestly."
I'm glad. That was why I wanted to help. I wanted to make sure everyone would be okay.
I think we will. It's I don't have to be the one to tell you that it's been rough, but I think things are starting to look up. I think that we will be okay. No?
I know you will be okay. I think that you all do just fine. And really, I don't want you to uh, feel guilty about how much I've decided to help. This is this is what I've decided to put my savings towards, and that is my decision.
You see him kind of nod, and his gaze kind of drops a bit, and he takes a deep breath and says, "Right, well, let's try that again." Um, but this time he gives you a full hug. And he gives you another squeeze. He's gonna
Dove.
say, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, Dove hugs back very warmly and kind of tucks their head into like the crook of Fawn's neck, just very warm.
Yeah, he's gonna he's gonna just hug you and he's gonna say, by the gods, I'm gonna miss you.
You can't make me tear up now, Vaughn.
I've been
I've
fighting
made
it
it
this whole
this
time. You
far.
can't be you can't fight it now.
I'm going to miss you all so very terribly, but I will be back to visit at intervals, and I will also be sending messages whenever I'm able to.
I think everybody's really gonna like that.
And please do keep the twins and my other students out of trouble, since I know that you do work so hard. And make sure that they keep up in what we've already studied.
Yeah, don't worry. I'm not as good at it as you are, but I can at least try to make sure that they practice what they do know.
Well, Vaughn, the offer to attend is always open. I do not only need to teach children. The offer to learn is always there, and especially when I come back, I'll have a other world of knowledge.
You know what? Yeah. Bring back some lesson plans that'll really rock my socks off. Metaphorically, anyway.
I'll have to think about what to teach an old alchemist like you. But I think it could be done.
uh. Oh god, how am I gonna respond to that one?
The tone is obviously teasing,
No,
but
I
very
know,
friendly.
I just think it's really funny. I definitely feel like it's like a wow. Okay, wow. I see. I'm sorry. I just think it's really funny. Calls my friend who's obviously not that old. Love you, grandpa. Um
Yeah.
uh yeah. Spend a really long moment saying your goodbyes with Vaughn. And by the time you both part and stop talking, there is a sting to your eyes, but your heart is full, knowing that both of you will look to the future, even if you both are so far apart. and you'll both keep fighting the good fight. With
Yeah.
high walls.
And Dove leaves High Walls. And as they kind of step out of that little entryway into the district, I think they do kind of wipe away some tears. Not sad, just bittersweet. And let me see. Did Mar want me to visit right before I left? Or just in general the day that I left?
Ooh, I think that when Mar asked you to make sure that like you saw them before you left, that it was a general thing, I think, but I also think that like the closer to when you leave, like I think that it's kind of like a mix of the two because it doesn't have to be right before you leave, but I definitely think that like Mar definitely wants to see you
Mhm.
like and maybe see you off, I guess, is like the vibe I would say. Like Mar's Romo, you know how Mar gets. Mar's also going to
Yeah,
be very emo during this time.
yeah, because I was thinking about going to see Mar and then going to Velvet's for the final kind of goodbye and then leaving, but if she wanted to see me off, then that'd be a bit difficult.
I mean, you could always get her and bring her home. Like there are options. Like you don't like this is an area where people can be moved.
That's fair. I think I'll do that then, and Deb will start heading towards Mar's home, I believe.
Okay, so you go over to Mars home. You go back to Dragon Eyes. And Mars home is a nice little multi-story building. You would know that Mars home is not really like a small house or like apartments that can be really common in populous areas, but it's specifically rented by Mars' entire family. So it gets to be really big because everybody just has their own rooms and sections of the building. Um, and so you very easily find it. You've been here tons of times before. Um, how do you approach this building? Do you knock? Do you come in? Do you call out? What do you do?
I think Dove just approaches the building and knocks at the door and waits.
Very polite, very polite. Uh, you knock and you wait, and uh, you're greeted by the same sound that normally happens, where you knock and somebody from the bowels of this building kind of yells like coming or someone's at the door. Just an acknowledgement that they heard you. Um, as you wait, you hear some shuffling around, and then somebody walks to the door and opens. And you actually do see Mar. Um, her long hair sort of tied back, and she's wearing sort of like a worn and flour stained apron, sleeves rolled up. And she looks at you and she says, "Oh, well, hi."
Hello, Ma. Um, may I come in?
Oh, yeah, yeah. And she kind of like opens the door immediately, like steps to the side so you can come in, and she says, "Now you can't get on me for having the place be a mess. You caught me in the middle of cooking, so you can't complain."
And I think Dove just smiles and turns to look at her and goes to say, I don't know whatever you could mean, my dear. I think you look radiant and lovely as always.
You see her close the door and kind of lean on it and just kind of look at you. And you see her kind of get that sort of like dreamy little smile she gets on her face whenever you guys get into your little flirting stats. And she says, "Now you can't go embarrassing me today. I'm very busy, you know."
All right, I'll try to keep on my best behavior just for you.
She kind of looks at you for a bit longer and she comes up to you and puts a hand on your cheek, a little bit of the flower residue left on your skin, and she gives you a kiss on the cheek. And she says, "That's my lovebird."
So,
Come on, sit down.
um, do they lead Dove to the kitchen?
Yes.
Okay.
They leave Dove to the kitchen, and it's definitely like a kitchen dining room situation where like there's no difference between the eating area where you sit and the kitchen. So you get to watch Mar as she puts around the kitchen.
What are you making exactly?
I'm trying to finish this pie, but the crust is giving me difficulties.
Is the rest of your family busy? Is the little one here?
Fisk is around here somewhere. I can go fetch her in a minute. Um, well, some of them are currently away at work, but I think some of them should be around here. I haven't really gone out seeking any of them in particular. Why, do you want to meet my family? It's
I was
moving
just
so
curious.
fast.
Oh, I was just curious. Curious is all. But if you're going to give me trouble about it, then I suppose not.
Trust me, if they were around, they would love to be able to come and say their goodbyes and see you off, but I guess it's hard to take days off these days.
People are busy, and I can't blame them for that. Besides, I'll be back before you know it anyway.
I'll make sure to mark my calendar
Please do.
when you give me the day.
As soon as I step through whatever portal they're planning on sending me through, the first question I will ask is, oh, how soon will I be able to depart from these lands to see my loved one beyond the border?
As you should. As any reasonable person should. And as you guys are talking, she is the picture of domesticity, rolling a pie crust and fitting it into her pan and filling it up with the same berries that she likes to make her jams with. Um, you can tell that there's a portion of it where she tries to make it look like really nice, but also like how nice can you make a pie look? It's really up to God when you start baking. Um, but she puts it in the oven and comes to sit down next to you as it cooks. And she says, "So, how are you feeling?"
Well, Vaughn caught me off guard at High Walls, and a few stray tears escaped, but it's been a nice day. I uh, bought some winter supplies for the community, and my morning was the same as it's always been, but I prefer it that way.
I think that's fair. You've always been one who likes your routine.
I just would rather not have something manufactured for my last day here.
You see her give a nod and then a dramatic sniff, and she says, "Well, that's gonna make the dinner I planned for you very awkward, isn't it?"
Oh, Ma. Not every day is the same. I can accept a dinner. That's fine.
Okay, because it was very hard work to make sure everybody could be around for it at the same time. I know you guys don't have sit-down dinners. I worked very hard.
Will it be at Velvet's then?
Yes.
Oh, and here I was coming to fetch you so I could bring you over to Velvet's while I said my goodbyes.
Oh, that makes it so much easier because now I don't have to lie and pretend that I'm busy with something else on the day that you're leaving. I feel like you would have seen right through me if I had.
You do this thing when you lie, Ma. I just don't feel like you're very good at lying, or at least not to me.
I, well, it's hard to lie to you, but also, who needs to be good at lies and subterfuge and deception when you can be like me and just ask for everything that I want? And she kind of gives
It's
you like
true.
a joking grin.
Dove just smiles and says, I would. Anything that you want, Ma, I would buy it for you. It is my last day here. If there's something that you would like, please tell me.
You see her look at you, and she knows that what you say rings true. And for a second, you can see for a second you can see the air of happy domestic life crack. She kind of says very quietly, "No, you would, but you don't want to hear what I want. Not right now."
I think Dove just kind of looks at her with Dove just kind of looks at her for a little bit with this kind of searching expression that gets dropped pretty easily, given the somberness that has entered the room and atmosphere. And I think Dove just gives a slight nod and says, all right, I won't pry, but I I just want to make sure you have everything that you would need to be happy while I was gone. That's all.
Mara's gonna reach out and take your hands into hers. She's gonna
Um,
kind of say, "You're so kind."
it's an easy thing to do, to be kind, but in this world, in this city especially, it's also such a very, very hard thing to do.
I
And go ahead.
I think Mar says, "I can see it in everything that you do and say. I think it's more commendable that that is the case. You just doing it because it's in your nature. You're kind. And I hope you keep that no matter how far you go."
I will. I know why I'm doing this, and it's intertwined with what my goal has always been for the people of Sharn, the people of Kyre, the people of Corvair, really. I won't lose sight of that so easily, and you have my word on that. And Dove kind of just softly squeezes her hand.
I think that she squeezes yours back, and it has an intensity to it that you don't often feel when interacting with Mar, who is all softness in the way that she talks, in the way that she makes herself look, in the way that she moves. But she holds you with a fierceness, and you see her give a smile. She says, "I'm so proud of you. You know, do you know that? Great out there. I know it."
Thank you,
So
Mama.
think,
Hmm?
so think of yourself every once in a while, okay? You're allowed that.
That is one thing in my nature that I suppose I'm not very good at, but I'll do my best to. I'll I'll just do my best.
Okay, that's all I can ask. But I will get you if you come back and I find out you haven't.
Well, I'll hold you to that word then.
I think at this point she kind of gets up to go and hold you for a bit. Whether you're still sitting or you stand, I think that she goes to hug you and gently kiss your hair. Uh, about as long as she can manage before she has to pull herself away because she does have a pie in the oven.
Of course, yeah. I think Dove stands up to hug her and just it's as nice for them as it is for Mar, and just enjoys it as long as he can before she has to take the pie out of the oven.
You can tell that she stays a bit too long because when she pulls out the pie, the edges of the shapes of dough are a little bit too dark, but that's okay. Crust only gives baked goods character, you know. She takes it out and she lets it cool, and she says, well, as soon as I can wrap this up, we can go ahead and head over, and I can tell everyone that we can give up this charade, this subterfuge that I did so terribly at.
It was really going quite great when I had no idea of it, until I came to visit you just now.
Yes, I know, but in my defense, I couldn't very well keep it a secret. I had to make sure that you would actually like it and not actually hate everyone involved. It's very important for a last day to be fun.
See, the thing is that even if I did just want my last day to be as it always was, I think this was a very smart plan of your creation, because more than that, all I want before I leave is to have everyone together. So I would like that very much.
She smiles and she gives you another kiss on your cheek, and she says very earnestly, we'll be there with you all the way until the end. And you set off. You will actually notice that Mar doesn't go collect Fisk before leaving.
Is Fisk here, or?
No, she's already over there.
Oh.
I mean it. I had things planned and things going. So no, she's not here right now.
You had me worried. I thought I wasn't going to be able to say goodbye to her.
No. She would never forgive me or you if you ran off before she'd get to see you.
All right, well, shall we then? And Dub kind of offers out their arm
Oh
to
yeah,
her.
she's linking arms. She's going. And you take a walk through this district that you both love so much, filled with people that you know and people that you don't know, or people you don't recognize that could be people you don't know, as is what happens when you know a community of changelings. Um, and you walk over to Velvet's, and you guys go through the back entrance, which is the closest to the living quarters anyway, and you walk through the doors and make your way down to the kitchen slash dining room area. And as you guys step through the threshold, you hear a raucous cheering, and Mar's like, okay, it's not a surprise anymore. We can calm down, everyone. Never mind.
I think Dove just lets out this really loud laughter and just sounds so pleased and so happy.
And you come in, and everyone's here. Everyone at Velvet's. A couple of Mars family members that you've gotten to know over the years. You see Rue and Fisk and Loon in a corner, leaning against a wall but giving you a nod as you come in. As everybody kind of stands around this prepared table. It's nothing too extravagant. You guys don't have a huge table. This table is generally used for very utilitarian meals when we get the chance, but there's something that makes this moment so emotional because everyone is here as you all get ready to sit down and have your last moments. How are you spending this time?
Cry.
Yeah.
Are they still preparing food when Dove gets there, or is it already?
I want to say that it's all ready, but they're starting to put it down on the table, so like it's getting
Dove
set
tries
up.
to help them. Dove tries to get it set up also.
You get more than a couple smacks on your fingers.
What? What? I was just trying to help. I'm sorry.
It's okay. We'll set it up. We'll get it handled. And you see Jack, the one who spoke, kind of goes to ruffle your hair and says, "Take it easy for once, yeah?"
Fine, I suppose. If that's what you would like.
uh
And after being turned away from the help, I think Dove will kind of just chat with all of these people. Like, I'm sure they're all like wanting to converse with Dove also, but I
Oh
think
yeah.
Dove makes a point of like trying to hold a conversation individually with each person just because it is so important this last moment.
Yeah, definitely. You definitely can tell in the people around you that they are very focused isn't the right word, but they're very turned toward you. I feel like a lot of people are going out of their way to make sure to talk with you, to give you like parting words of wisdom or even just congratulations or like toasting a drink from across the table when they meet your gaze. But like I can also tell you that when you stop to actually talk with all of them, they do it, and you have a moment of connection with every person there. And from it can range from Rude taking the time to gift you with the most beautiful violin you've ever seen as a parting gift, and Time, the woman who brought you to Velvets, helped raise you, your first teacher telling you how proud she is of you and what you've accomplished. And even Loon, who makes a point to sit next to you at the table and bumps his shoulder against yours. And while the act of you going to school isn't particularly of interest to them, you still can sense the, I guess, concern. And they tell you that traveling and leaving your home is a part of life. And he kind of gives you a crooked grin and says, "You're probably going to come back completely different, you know. That's how stuff like this works."
It's far too much in the future for me to consider how different I'll be. And I don't think anyone here wants to think about that or they'll start crying.
4 years is a long time.
I'll be an old man by the time I come back. You know, Loon, 4 years is a long time. And if you happen to get into trouble while I'm gone and I come back to hear that you're in jail or they've had to scrape you off the streets, I will be very upset with you.
Uh,
Just so you're aware.
that's fine. You can chew my ear
No?
off.
No, it is not fine. You have to stay safe while I'm gone.
Well, you see, the beauty of me is that uh, even if I'm not safe while you're gone, I will still be here when you get back.
Okay, that's all I could ask for then.
I'm not gonna stick my nose in anything too bad, though.
I know
Can't
it's
get
in
hung
your.
up in legal fees, you know that.
I knew that telling you to be safe would be rather difficult given your nature,
I mind
but
my own business.
unless a fight breaks out,
You can't sit here and act like I'm the only one that goes into the fray when a fight breaks out around here.
true.
I've seen you risk your skin for other people enough.
Fine, fine. That's fine. I will back off of this, but I will miss you terribly so.
Well,
For all of your fighting comments and your energy or lack thereof.
what I was trying to say earlier, that I suppose I'll miss you all the same, but I think when you are out there living your life away from home, you'll realize that you're not as far as you think. You'll still feel as connected to here as you are now. So don't get too sad about it. Yeah? And Loon kind of gives you a playful little knock on the head.
I think Dove thinks about that for a moment and looks really grateful at that simple piece of advice and kind of replies back, I suppose it was always easy to read what I was most worried about. But thank you, that means a lot to me, I'm sure you know. It it will be hard to think that home will be that close, but the longer I'm there, the more I'll get used to it.
Of course, that's how this sort of stuff works after all. And where you've been will always stay with you, no matter where you are now. Nothing can take this place from you, not even interplanar travel.
I still haven't gotten used to that.
I quite frankly can't understand it, and so have given up trying. I I know my way around the plains in theory. I'm
We
mostly.
all
Sorry, go ahead.
we, we all know the planes and we all know that there's a manifest zone for Sharn. We all know that, but
Well,
it's another thing entirely to go to the other planes.
No, that's what I'm saying. I have read about planes. I haven't heard about this plane you're going to. Quite frankly, I need to be within arm's distance of when you cast that spell to make sure you don't explode. Frankly, that's the main reason I am here right now.
Well, if they've tricked me, then it's been a very elaborate ruse this whole time. And honestly, I don't even think that it's a plane here. I think it's another world, which is
They
also
have those?
very confusing for me.
They have those?
I don't know, Loon, but it's very concerning.
Well, I guess it's a good thing you're going to school to now learn about this, I guess. Uh, and he kind of looks at you, and you guys kind of like share a moment before Loon kind of lets out a raspy laugh that kind of keeps going because of this bit you're doing, and they throw an arm over your shoulder, uh, and they sit with you for the rest of the dinner. And I have one more thing I have to tell you about,
Mm-hmm.
um, because there is one dear face that hasn't talked to you yet. As you search the room, wanting to make sure that you can give them a goodbye, and you see nearby Mar leaning down to talk to a young Fisk who's looking at you. Um, and you can see that the pose is kind of Mar has a hand on Fisk's back. Um, and you can hear as you're kind of watching this moment, Mar say kind of low, "You wanted to show them, didn't you? Go on." Uh, and Fisk hesitates before kind of seeing you watching her. She kind of bulks up the courage and kind of runs up to you and stops right in front of you. And she kind of has this stubborn look on her face. And she opens her mouth and she says,
Oh.
oh, sorry. I also thought everything died for a second, but we're good. She looks at you and she says, "I wanted to show you something, but now it's not ready, so I can't. So you have to come back and see it when it's ready."
Fisk, what do you mean?
You
I'm sure whatever you have to show me, it would be lovely.
Yeah, so you have to make sure you come back so you can see it. Okay?
um. Oh God. Uh, um. Dove just gives this really warm, really big smile at kind of immediately seeing where this is going, and I think gets down kind of like onto their knees to where they're kind of more like level with Fisk,
Mm-hmm.
and they just sweep her up into this really big hug as they just really proudly say, "Whatever you're working on, I promise you that I would not miss seeing it for anything."
Fisk
and
holds you back so tight. Keep talking.
and I will be back before you know it. And you have made me already so proud to call you my student, Fisk.
You feel her squeeze you so tight, and you can hear her sniffling right next to your ear as she just gives you a big hug.
And I think Dove just starts kind of like petting the top of her head as he says, "Come now, don't cry. It's all right. It's all right. I'm still here. I'll be sending you and Mar lots of letters."
Okay, I'll wait for them.
And then you have to be sure to write back to me telling me all of the new things that you've been practicing.
I will. I'll make sure that you know everything.
Yes, you have to tell me about everything, especially about what trouble your mother's getting up to. And you have to make sure that she stays out of trouble, because we know how busy she gets, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. This is so soft. I'm so emo. Ugh. Child.
Can you give me at least one hint as to what you're working on? I'm very excited to see it, and I don't know if I'll be able to contain myself for as long as it will take me to see it. Just one hint.
She pulls back and she looks at you, and she's got her arms still kind of around your shoulders. And she gives a big sniff, and you see her mouth open, and you hear her orate a tune. And it's not perfect, and it's quiet, and her voice cracks. But you know this tune because it's a common folk melody sung by the changelings of Dragon Eyes, and it was the first song Time taught you when you started learning how to become a bard.
You're going to be famous one day, you know that?
As famous as you.
I'm not quite there yet, sweetheart.
I can't be getting emo. I'm the DM. I have to narrate this. Ooh. And you have this moment with Fisk and Mar affectionately watching from a little ways away. Is there anything else you want to do? And if not, tell me how you want to go.
The only thing I can think is of just saying how thankful he is for everyone here and how they've been in his life and what they've taught him or given him or even just the company that they've kept. And I think they make a point to play a song on their newly gifted viol from Brew.
I think whenever you say your bit, everybody in the room uh, smiles but gives you the rapt attention of a silent room so you play this song, tell me, is it poignant? Is it Does it have energy and feeling? Is it What are you trying to instill in this performance of yours?
I think Dove plays a melody that is beautiful and happy. And I think they make a point to not have any bittersweet or sad notes in it, because much like Dove, this tune is very hopeful in a sense. And I think they just wanted to leave it off on a very sweet, happy note.
And I think that you do that. I think everyone in this room, even if they aren't a performer, everyone in this room has an appreciation for music, for performance, and everyone allows it to permeate that space. And by the end of it, the teary eyes that you were just saying goodbye to have a bit more strength instilled into them, and their smiles are more genuine.
And I think with that, Dove puts away the instrument and, after finishing the meal, goes upstairs to fetch all of their things and comes back downstairs with the scroll in hand.
Okay. How do you do it?
Um, it's a scroll that we read aloud, right?
Yes, you can read it. I think it is pretty intuitive that anything you want to take, you have to be holding or touching.
Um, yeah, I definitely think Dove has all of their belongings with them, not wanting to take any chances. Like, they probably made sure that they
Mm-hmm.
had everything gathered that they would need for this
Oh yeah, triple check.
with
I get
them.
that. It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing. And I think uh, once they have everything in hand, their trunk, uh, backpack, anything on their person, they come back downstairs and kind of give themselves some space away from everyone while still kind of being in the same room.
I definitely think that you
To
can probably find a doorway to do it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But other than that, they get set up, and I think they begin to read the scroll.
Nice. You gather your things and you start to read it, and as you read it, you see the words lighting up on the page as the edges start to disintegrate like ash, and your body starts to feel light. And even in the warm glow of velvets, it starts to intensify. And the last thing that you see before you go is Loon leaning against a wall, watching you. You make eye contact, and he smiles and says, "Make sure to have fun." And you hear the cheers of everyone in this room as your body feels light. You are gone. And that is the last second before you start the next session. How are you feeling?
Feeling good, feeling bittersweet, somber.
Yeah. Got to go out surrounded by everyone you love.
Yeah. It was really sweet.
Yeah. All of the mini sessions make me really emotional because, like, obviously they're emotional moments, and like I've helped you guys build these characters, and I'm role playing these moments that are really bittersweet, you know? Like, it's a goodbye, and it's an I don't know when I'm gonna see you next, and it's I don't have the option to go see you, and it's like,
Yeah.
that Fisk moment nearly fucking gutted me. I'm like, oh,
I
sad
had to
child.
compose myself because the kid is what got me, man. I was like,
Yeah.
oh god.
I was like, is this like really realistic if like there isn't one kid that just doesn't understand where you're going? It's just like it's just bittersweet and it's sad, and Fisk loves you so much, and everyone loves you so much.
Dev loves all of them so much.
I also didn't have a chance to actually mention it because we were doing a lot of really organic conversations, but something that I wanted to actually mention to you back during the High Walls section, um, something that I think that Dove would really like. So I'm fine with telling you this, technically outside of the session. Um, Mar and her family and assorted people at Velvet's actually are going to be taking the time to go up to High Walls while you're gone.
Right, because I asked Mar.
Yeah, and so Mar got everyone to be able to do that because they're gonna keep your good fight going.
Yeah, I think Dove probably would have shared with them who to go to,
Mhm.
Vaughn for uh cooperation and just organization in general, and I think Vaughn would have let I think Dove would have let Vaughn know about what would be happening with that.
I actually think I really wanted to mention it because I wanted Vaughn actually to be the one to mention it to you. Like, oh yeah, like a bunch of like your changeling friends are coming by
Oh,
recently, because Mar wouldn't have told you that Mar would have gotten everybody rounded up to do it. Mar would have just been like, I
Mar!
bet.
Oh, Mar, I love you so much.
I love her so much. Okay,
That's
unless
really
there's
sweet.
anything else you want to say that's written into history, I'll stop the recording.
Um, no, I think that's everything.
Okay, I'm going to stop the recording and I'll start uploading it.